Hey guys, so welcome to my channel. Today is the day that we are starting our long form content. So today we are going to be making some tiramisu. So we are going to start off with 4 eggs. Now I didn't realize until after the fact that I made a mistake on this part. So it isn't a huge mistake, but most recipes only use the egg yolks. Here you can clearly see that I'm using the whole egg, which I feel like it didn't make it taste too much different, but yeah, use just the egg yolk. And then I did add about 1/4 cup of sugar to the eggs, and basically you want to blend until it gets like this foamy looking color and texture. So in a separate bowl, you are going to want to take some heavy whipping cream. Make sure that everything is room temperature, because when you mix it, you don't want one thing to be cold and one thing to be room temperature. You want it to all be cohesive. So in that separate bowl, I did add about 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, some vanilla extract, and some sugar. And you are going to want to give that a good mix. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, when you're mixing this stuff, it's going to take forever to mix it. So just be patient and just keep mixing until basically the mixtures double or triple in size. For the heavy whipping cream, you're basically wanting to mix it until it gets to like that stiff texture. So once you get there, you can set that to the side. Next, you are going to want to get your mascarpone cheese together. Please do not be like me. I don't know why my extra self took the time to put the mascarpone cheese in a separate bowl, creating more dishes, when I could have just added it into my heavy cream mixture. So please just omit that part and just add your mascarpone cheese directly into your heavy cream mixture. And I add a little at a time just to make sure that I'm evenly getting it mixed into that heavy cream mixture, because obviously you're going to have more heavy cream than you are going to have mascarpone cheese. And if you're looking for a more cheesier taste, just do 2 of those containers of the mascarpone cheese. So next you're going to take your egg mixture, and I would say give that a good mix before you add it in, because sometimes I notice that the foam and the egg yolks kind of separate if you let it sit. So once you mix that up, you want to add little by little to your mixture and fold that in. And then you just see me just adding a little bit more just to see if that gets it to the texture that I'm looking for. Some people say that they use a hand mixer to do this part. Honestly, I have tried this recipe so many times, and the other times I have used a hand mixer, and it just makes the texture like real grainy, and it makes that mascarpone cheese like curdle in a sense. So I would recommend doing it this way, and then you will always have this nice creamy smooth texture. Once you have this consistency, you are going to want to just pop this in the fridge while you are working on the rest of your stuff. So in a bowl of warm water, you are going to want to add your espresso powder. I'm not going to go into details about how I got my measurements, as you can find the measurements on the glass jar. It does tell you how many teaspoons you need per the ounces of water. Next, you want to go in with a teaspoon of the instant coffee, and that instant coffee is going to dissolve as long as your water is warm. Next, you want to add some sugar into your coffee mixture. I believe I added about 1/4 cup of sugar, and then I am just going to add a splash of vanilla into that. I'm basically just trying to build up the flavor of my coffee syrup to make it mimic how I usually like to drink my coffee. So I am going to add some coffee liqueur in that, and then we are going to finish this off with adding a little bit of cocoa powder, because I do like to have my coffee syrup with that chocolatey taste. I feel like everybody makes their coffee syrup differently, and what I would recommend is make it the way that it works for you, because some of the recipes that I've seen, their coffee syrup be tasting real bitter and just not up to par for me. So I would just recommend add what you want to add to your coffee syrup, and make sure that you taste before adding your ladyfingers in it, because be mindful, the ladyfingers is going to soak up that mixture and you don't want to have a mixture that you don't like the taste of. So this next part is completely optional, and some people are like 100% against it. Some people don't mind it. I'm one of those people that don't mind it. And the reason why I don't mind the cocoa powder being on the bottom is it does change the texture of the cocoa powder when you put the ladyfingers on top of it and then the mascarpone. But I feel like it just adds like that extra oomph to it. So I always add the cocoa powder at the bottom. Next, you want to get your ladyfingers together. I would recommend making sure that you're using hard ladyfingers. For some reason, when I first made this dish, I found the softest ladyfingers, and I did not know that you needed to have hard ladyfingers because when you dip it in the mixture, it gets like softer. So when I first made this dish, when I tell y'all, my ladyfingers were soggy. They were super soggy. So make sure that you always buy hard ladyfingers because you want to let your tiramisu sit in the fridge for a few hours, and the ladyfingers are just going to essentially like get softened. So once you layer your first layer of ladyfingers, you are going to want to add a healthy amount of your mascarpone mixture and make sure that you evenly spread that. Once you evenly spread that, you are just going to repeat the process. And again, you can sprinkle it with some cocoa powder. It is going to change the texture because it is touching that mascarpone mixture. But again, I feel like it adds that extra oomph to it, so it doesn't bother me. And then the process is the same. Dip your ladyfingers in that coffee syrup and just keep repeating the process. Sometimes you will have to break down some of your ladyfingers for them to fit in place. So do that if necessary. And once you have all your ladyfingers in place, you are going to add that last layer of the mascarpone. And then I did go ahead and I sped up this last part. You guys got it. You know that you got to just put that last layer of that mascarpone mixture and make sure that you spread that nice and evenly. You are going to want to pop this in the fridge covered, and I would recommend about 8 to 12 hours, but if you let it sit longer, that's better. And boom, here you have it. I promise if you try this, it is going to be delicious. If you guys like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for the next video. Mwah.